Hi, for those that don't know me, I'm Virginia Walton, and I'm an executive burnout coach. Prior to starting my coaching practice, ooh, hi, this is Virginia Walton. Had a little glitch there, so sorry if you're hearing this twice. I'm an executive burnout coach, and prior to starting my coaching practice, I spent 24 years in the banking and finance industry, where I worked my way from teller at a small community bank to senior vice president of a $27 billion bank. I'd love to tell you it was super easy and didn't exhaust me at all, but that wouldn't be true. Yes, I had great success, but it came with a cost, and I nearly burned out. So that's why now I look to help other executive women continue to strive and meet their professional goals, but without paying a price personally. So let's get started. Today's topic is, do you have your 2022 metrics set? And if you're thinking, well, yeah, that was part of our financial planning that we did, in third quarter. I know what all my targets are. Great. That's for work. How about for you personally? Right? It's the last week of 2021. Wow, that's weird to say. And we're wondering, who's setting what New Year's resolutions? It's that week. It's the hot topic, right? Every year. So let me share some data with you. There was a study by University of Scranton in 2018 that showed only 8%. 8%. Less than 1/10 of people actually achieved their New Year's resolutions. That's kind of sad. And that was pre-pandemic, right? Since our goals are usually something weight and exercise and health related. 2018, you could easily go to the gym and not have to worry about screenings, and the gyms weren't closed, right? And only 8%. Another study showed that in 2020, only 27% of people even bothered to make resolutions. Wow. That means 73% just gave up on the whole concept. They're going into the year just whatever. They're defeated before it even started. I mean, what are you working towards without a resolution, without a goal? That same survey showed that 64% of those that made the resolutions, they were the same as last year. Now, I admit I'm guilty of carrying some resolutions over, and there are some from 2021. There's a couple of my goals I didn't hit. I know why. I know what I need to do differently, and they're going to go with me into the new year. But think about it. 73% didn't even bother to make resolutions last year. And 64%, they were the same ones from the prior year. They're just carrying them over. So that's pretty sad, right? So I'm guessing some of you may be able to relate to that, since it's the majority of the numbers. But let's stop and we think about this, right? As a former gym rat, I used to go 6 days a week. I know I hated January because everybody was at the gym. Classes were packed. You had to wait for machines. So if you were there in December when there was nobody there, it was really annoying. But I knew that come February it'd be fine. So if anything, I maybe scaled back in January just to avoid the annoyance. Think about that. So let's make this year different. And I get it, right? I said I've got to carry some things over because I had some things unexpected come up this year that I hadn't planned for. And it set me back a little bit. So, okay, now I know how to handle that. And most of us, we get busy. It's hard to form new habits. So it's so much easier to go back to what we've always done. Hence why we keep carrying those resolutions over year after year, having not met them. You know, we're tired. We're overwhelmed. Life is draining. Life is busy. We're human. So don't give up, right? Let's make 2022 different. So you can't keep doing the same things, right? If you want to use the New Year's resolution goals you've set in the past and haven't achieved, great. That part's already done. But we have to do something different to move them forward and actually make this coming year the year we achieve them, right? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So, when we started this conversation, I said, do you have your metrics right? And I'm sure many of you are like, yeah, they're done. We've tweaked them. We measure the same things year after year. You know your metrics, right? Your bonus usually depends on that, right? My former firm, Issues Management, was one of the executive targets. So they were on top of those because it impacted their bonus. And their staffs made sure the right names were on them too, because there was a financial impact and staff knew them. So there's a financial impact. You watch your metrics. There's no guarantee on bonuses. You don't know how the company is going to perform as a whole. You're going to do your best. And you put forth an effort because there's a cost, right? That's why you check those metrics. Probably monthly, not less than quarterly, right? I'm sure I'm not the only one who lived in an environment of red, yellow, green. If anything wasn't green, you were on top of it because there was going to be a consequence. And you knew it. Usually the consequence was monetary. Cash is king, right? Hey, not that we're materialistic, and I'm saying that, it's all about the almighty dollar, but we need money to live. That's just the way life is, right? It's okay. It's okay to want to get your bonus. I'm not saying it's not. I always worked hard to get mine. So apply that process. You can make more money. You can overachieve on bonuses at times, right? You know that the next year there's going to be a new target. There's going to be a new goal. You only get one chance around. You only get a finite amount of time. So if you are watching your corporate metrics, your department and your functional metrics that drive your bonus, that drive your raise, where you know there's an opportunity to reset and make more, but there is no opportunity to make more time. You get what you get. So since that's not a replenishable resource, why aren't you monitoring your metrics the same? Especially since, you know what? If you resign or there's a corporate reorg, somebody else can do your work. You can be replaced. You can't be replaced as you. Wow, I'm getting a little teary. That's how important it is. I'm serious. There's only one of you and you only get so much time. Make the most of it. Measure your metrics. So, first thing you got to do, just like you did at your dashboards and scorecards and reporting, what are the key metrics? Is it more time with family? Is it just time with family? Time with friends? Things we've missed the last year and a half, 2 years, right? More sleep? More time moving your body? Is it run a marathon? Whatever. Like, what are your metrics? Is it to get 7 hours or 8 hours sleep? Is it to exercise 4 or 5 days a week? Is it to have one dinner a night as a family that where nobody has anything on their schedule? You're not running kids to anything. That's going to be different for every one of us, right? If you've got young kids versus if you've got college age kids, what what your time and values with them and your relationships with them that you need to work on and focus on is going to be different. So decide. Doesn't have to be a laundry list. Think dashboard. Handful things, 4 or 5, right? Okay. Now you've decided the things you're going to measure. What's the acceptable level, right? Is it 6 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep? Maybe 6 is the bare minimum, 8 is the ideal. Set up your range. Track it. You got to measure it. And please, we can all track our sleep, how much we move. There's a whole industry. And coming into the new year, between Christmas and New Year's, they're all on sale. I know next week's sale ads are going to have fitness equipment, and the ads have been running for Weight Watchers and Noom and Calibrate and whatever other weight loss system there is, right? There's tools to measure. That's not an issue. But you got to define it, determine what's acceptable, and then measure it. Keep track of it. And then check it. Weekly, monthly. The metrics that drive your bonus, you wouldn't go 6 or 9 months without looking at, would you? No. The metrics that drive your well-being, shouldn't they be getting more frequency than that? Yeah, I know, it's a little harsh, but it's intentional. You're too important not to. You are more important than your bonus. So remember that. Let me say that again. You are more important than your bonus. So monitor your metrics more frequently than you do those for your bonus. Okay? So, just like you would do if something slid from green to yellow or had been hanging out as that not hitting the goal, we're at risk of being in a bad place, you'd see what was causing it, right? And you'd create some sort of action plan. Whether it's you don't have enough resource, it's not getting a priority, somebody's not pulling their weight, you'd address it, right? Again, I'm going to use the example of issues management. I know I have a lot of risk people in my network. Fixing issues is kind of a priority. And if it's not getting addressed timely, you start to elevate that up the chain, right? Now, granted, you're the boss of yourself, so the only place you can elevate is to you. But then again, because there's the powers that be we all have somebody to answer to, that creates some accountability. So if you're not hitting your goals because you're not holding yourself accountable, I get it. It can be hard. Find a buddy. Find a coach. Find a tracking tool. Someone told me about an app. I use a planner that has my daily discipline tracking. So I love being able to check off that I hit that. I got that sleep. I had the water I should have. I exercised. I had time for quiet reflection. Right? I quieted my mind. I got my 10,000 steps. And when I don't use that tool, guess what? I don't hit my goals. You need something that keeps you accountable. What works for one may not work for another, right? Marshall Goldsmith would tell the story about he has somebody that every day would ask him a series of questions. Did you do your 20 sit-ups? Did you do your 20 push-ups? Did you spend time with your wife? He had a whole list. And every day he got a phone call and he had to answer. You need a phone call? Okay, let me know. You need a text? I'm here to help. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's your teenager. Because you don't want to say you didn't do something that they'll remember that. Find what works for you. Review your metrics. Now, there are going to be weeks where you ebb and flow. It's life, right? This week, between the holidays, the end of the year, in my career, there were 2 buckets, right? When I was part of a production team, There was no taking off this week. It was full on deals, deals, deals. We got to hit our numbers, right? I'm sure some of you can relate to that. However, when I was an executive at the bank level, most of the executives took off that week to spend the time with their family. Their kids were home, family was traveling or visiting, right? They had wrapped everything up by the middle of the month. You know, we had one unit where they were production, but they dealt with other banks and they were dealing with executives. And again, everybody kind of shut down for the last 2 weeks, so they were done. It was chill. It was time to rest and be ready for the new year. If you're someone who does year-end reporting or you're in finance and accounting, you're probably getting a little antsy, right? It might be the calm before the storm. Because you know you can't do any of that until you close the books on the 31st. But there's a ton of stuff those first 3 to 5 days to close the books. It's even worse because it's for the end of the year, not just the month or the quarter. So you might be like, I'm going to chill because next week is going to be hell, right? So there was the two. It was either one extreme or the other. So if you're in the extreme where you've got some downtime, great. Use it to rest, set a plan so you hit the ground running. And make sure if you're in that bucket where next week is going to be hell, that you say, you know what? Maybe I'm going to start my new habits. I'm going to set the bar low that first week so I can achieve it. Maybe it's only 2 nights of the week I get 8 hours sleep and I get in 2 workouts. But the following week it's going to be 4 and 4. That's giving yourself grace. That's saying, listen, life ebbs and flows, so I have to adjust so that I can balance. And it's okay. What's not okay is, oh, there's still 2 boxes of Christmas cookies, so I'm just going to eat them all this week. And I'm going to skip my workout. I'm going to start on the first. Well, I'm going to start on the 3rd because that's the first Monday. That'll be better. Oh, you know what? This week is bad. I'll start the following week. That's excuses. Oh, my back hurts. I need to rest my back. Yeah, okay, so maybe that you don't do heavy weights that day. Maybe you just walk. Maybe you stretch. You adjust, but you don't skip, right? Oh, I'll just stay late one day this week. And then next thing you know, you've not gotten home for dinner with your family at all. Care for it during, and balance. If you know you have a week where it's hell, you're going to be in the office late, you're going to be cranking numbers late at your computer, then say, you know what? We're going to have an extra dinner together as a family the following week. Or, you know what? Wednesday, I don't care what's going on. I'm having dinner with my family. If I have to get back to work and do some stuff after, fine. But I'm keeping that commitment. You balance. So, it's little changes. Little changes can move you from the 92% to the 8% that actually achieves their resolutions and their goals. If you've never achieved a New Year's resolution, don't call it that. Call it a goal. Call it an action item. Call it whatever. If you always hit your goals at work, but you never keep your resolutions, it's a goal then, my friends. And if you're like, you know what, I'm ready. But I've been in this pattern for 10 years and haven't done it, and I just don't know how to make a difference. I'm here to help. I want you to hit your goals. I want you to have success. I want you to feel well and still be crushing it at work. Because guess what? When you're feeling better, when you're more rested, more focused, not burnt out, not exhausted, you will perform better at work. So if you're watching your personal metrics to be sure your well-being's on track, your work metrics are going to be even better. I promise. Trust me. So if you're ready, I'm here to help. So with that, if you've already mastered your resolutions and you're part of the 8%, consider sharing this because a friend may need to hear it. You might be helping them more than you know and giving them a better gift than you ever gave. So let's talk if you're ready to make the change. Check out my website, virginiawalton.com. You can connect with me LinkedIn and Facebook. Drop me a message. I want to help you be the best balanced you can be. With that, Happy New Year.